You won't believe what happens next. Old Joe is ready to lend a hand, and Uncle Dan starts pitching the agent murder case, acting like he's in a spy thriller. Uncle Dan acts as the victim and finds the agent's right hand holds the gun, yet the murder ballistics suggest the left. Susan proves sharper than the detectives. After uncovering these secrets, Uncle Dan quickly calls Old Joe, sharing all the juicy details and urging him to investigate. Uncle Dan takes orders, and a man needs a rush ride to the airport. With sharp intuition, he instantly spots something amiss. To test his instincts, Uncle Dan purposely takes a wrong turn, but the man doesn't flinch. Instead, he's glued to Uncle Dan's every move. Once the killer's cover is blown, it's game on. Uncle Dan quickly turns the wheel to dodge, then unleashes moves leaving the killer no chance to fight back. He swiftly disarms his opponent, delivers a powerful punch to the nose. The killer, realizing he's no match, quickly draws a gun. Uncle Dan brakes sharply, grabs the arm, and drifts to reclaim the gun under the empty overpass. Thankfully, he counterattacks successfully and drives to the outskirts. From the killer's phone, Uncle Dan finds all messages encrypted, like solving a game puzzle. This trick is only for agents. Uncle Dan, knowing the truth, destroys both man and car and visits Old Joe's next day. He cuts to the chase, stating someone tried to assassinate him yesterday. And the phone the guy used? Not your average flip phone. Old Joe pretends to be busy, but in the next moment, Uncle Dan responds using another phone, turning it into a high-tech showdown. Joe's phone rings, and at this point, he drops the act. It turns out after Dan's faux death, they went silent. Old Joe has been reassigned to paperwork duties and can only take on side gigs with his buddies. It's basically a barter system for survival. As for Susan's death, it was a decision made out of necessity given their mission in Belgium. 7 years on, camaraderie unites his foes. Uncle Dan doesn't strike right away. He knows Old Joe has friends nearby. Old Joe takes a foam stand, but Dan decides to walk him out. Spotting 3 killers getting out of the car, Dan realizes they were his. Old Joe claims they aren't targeting Dan personally, but Dan isn't buying it. He doesn't care about their past. Killing Susan comes with serious consequences. After delivering this warning, Uncle Dan smiles as he turns to take Old Joe's daughter away. After sending her off, Uncle Dan bids farewell to Old Joe. Next time they meet, it'll be anything but friendly. Dan knows these folks won't show. Immediately after, he moves Susan's husband to a safe spot. Barely 5 minutes later, Old Joe's men arrive only to find the place empty. Old Joe and another sneak into Uncle Dan's. Black, inside, is painting and calls to ask what's to eat. Just about to ask what's cooking, he suddenly hears barking outside. Looking up, he spots 2 men in black and his heart skips a beat. Uncle Dan, sensing urgency, rushes in to tell Black to find a bookshelf button. Activating it opens a secret door. Once inside the secret door, it's totally safe. Just then, Old Joe walks in with his gun drawn, and they start searching nervous. Black turns pale with anxiety, gasping. Old Joe checks each corner, but as an ex-agent, he's sharp. Suddenly, he spots mirror oddities and shines his flashlight. Black cuddles in the corner, nearly scared to wet himself. Thankfully, it's a 2-way mirror, invisible from outside. Old Joe jumps back, draws a ghost face. As he aims his gun at the ghost face, just before pulling the trigger, the phone rings. It's Uncle Dan calling. Old Joe quickly responds, realizing they are 1 step behind. Uncle Dan tells him to go to the old house in the seaside town to settle everything. Old Joe doesn't linger, quickly leaving with his team just as the killers arrive. As Black steps out of the room, the moment he opens the door, he gets caught. It's a hilarious blunder. Though unclear on this guy's relation to Uncle Dan, getting a call at such a critical moment must mean he's useful. Uncle Dan's back in the seaside town, now empty after the storm-forced evacuation. Old Joe quickly follows, shooting without hesitation at the blue-clad cops, and the tension escalates. 4 maintain high alert is a tactical team to search the house while 1 keeps watch outside. Little Joe spots a tall tower ahead. It's the perfect vantage point to survey the entire town. But no matter how they position themselves, it's all child's play against Uncle Dan. 1 teammate chases after a dark figure, only to find absolutely nothing. Just empty hopes. Once the bright light in the room is turned on, the man raises his gun in a defensive stance, but unfortunately, the renegade team member is the first to meet their demise. The others scramble in search of the target, but at a disadvantage. They opt for dividing and conquering. This undoubtedly provides Uncle Dan the perfect opportunity to strike back. The men barely react before he leaves them resembling a beehive. The arriving teammate sees this gruesome scene and hesitates to continue. Fear explodes within him. Uncle Dan spots Old Joe's position through the rearview mirror and shoots the voltage regulator, filling the air with smoke and startling everyone in front. He dashes into a nearby bakery and bursts open a bag, letting fly a project into the air as if throwing a fly party. After a few minutes, seeing the killers finally arrive, Uncle Dan knows the tactics. They've essentially set the stage just for him. The killers certainly did not disappoint, perfectly stepping into his trap. But Old Joe has a trick up his sleeve. Black is tied up in the trunk of a car, pressuring Dan to surrender now. Surrender or I'll kill Black. He fires first at the mirror, second at the taillight, third threatening the trunk. That's Old Joe's final warning to Dan. The stakes just got real. And hey, don't forget to subscribe to our channel.